Peace and Islam. Welcome unto the Amexem-Moor-Empire, Department for the Communications, Moor's Internet Televideo-Network, or M.I.T.N for short. It is a part of the Imperial Broadcasting Agency. For the record, today's date on the Amexem-Moor calendar is Peace Day, the 5th of Gu, the year 301, 630. I am the Honorable Noble Tina Wadil, and I serve as the lead video broadcast agent, and I shall be your hostess for this broadcasting segment. It is my honor and my privilege to welcome back to our segment His Imperial Majesty and Anunu L.A. Peace and Islam, His Imperial Majesty, and welcome back.
Peace and light, Islam, Honorable Noble Tina. Good to be here. Hope that all is well with you this evening.
Peace and Islam. All is truly well, and gratitude for asking. And I'm trusting all is well with you likewise. Islam.
Islam.
Islam. So welcome back to our segment. This is segment 30, and it's entitled Budget Proposal Pertaining to the Year 301, 631. So, as many of our nationals within the Amexem-Moor-Empire have been in the know regarding our fiscal budget year for the year 301, 631, and we've been in the deliberation phases. So just requesting any updates regarding that. Islam.
All right. For the record, yes, I've been convoking the Majlis al-Shura, the Assembly of the Imperial Council, on the budget proposal 301, 631. Deliberations continue. There is no date set for us to move into negotiations phase. I know it's starting to get a little late. I understand. However, there are particular realities that we have to contend with. There is concern, and rightly so. Again, as I said previously, we're not immune to global geofinancial changes. They impact, as we spoke about before, supply routes, supply chains, all these things. They impact inflation, deflation, all these things. And it's hard for decisions to be made by those who vote in your service on what things should look like. The fiscal responsibility lies squarely on the shoulders of the Imperial Council. In your service, they must decide by their vote what shall be the fiscal budget law. With so many factors in turmoil right now, with silver being used as the weapon to destroy the petrodollar, as some would call it, and with parties out there outbidding each other in wars, if you would, to we call it the silver wars, not civil, the silver wars. You have various financial and various industrial entities out there jockeying for a finite amount of silver supply. And since platinum, gold, and silver are the medium of exchange within the Amexem-Moor-Empire as per our Constitution, Article 6, Section 1, Clause 1, we are impacted directly and indirectly, whether we like it or not. That impacts how Imperial Council members see things in the fiscal budget proposal I present before them in your service under Article 6, Section 2, Clause 1 of our Constitution. So this is normally routine work for us. However, there's nothing routine about what's going on now. Quote unquote silver price, what you see on the screen, is 93 and change worthless piece of paper for an ounce of silver. However, parties are spending between 8 and 12 over premium, or rather of a premium, over the spot price. What you see on the screen and what's happening when you are dealing with coin dealers and institutions that actually move silver are two separate and distinct things. which is why we're having such difficulty with this budget proposal. So in your service, we don't make any excuses. We have to figure it out. We improvise, we adapt, we overcome, we work things out. However, in the process, it is stretched deliberations. And I cannot promise you that when we are next in session on the budget proposal, I cannot tell you with certainty that I should be able to move the Imperial Council to a point where they are ready to proceed to negotiate what could be the next fiscal budget law. Right now, a lot of things are up in the air. So I can't go so far in discussion right now because none of the factors have changed that would cause us to have a easier time with this. We're literally in uncharted waters. We're running hard between wind and tide to figure out how are we going to navigate our way to a safe port when it comes to fiscal responsibility in your service. So I'm going to leave that there. I'll leave the floor to you for any follow-on questions on this topic or whatever topic you have in mind. Islam.
No, in gratitude. Yes. My follow-up question to that is, what are some of the measures that we nationals within the Amexem-Moor-Empire can take to basically gear us towards being prepared for the silver prices increasing? Islam.
We have been proactive. We have decreased monthly contributions to alleviate the pain on the nationals. We have decreased the amalgamation and initial fee from 9 ounces to 7. It's also being looked at to decrease what it would cost to establish a business from 21 ounces of silver to 12 ounces of silver, or possibly 9. If it's going to be 9, then it will be 16 ounces to establish a business inside of our venue or on both sides of the ocean. Numbers not locked in yet. However, we are looking at particular things and haven't made a decision. All those things are forthcoming. What nationals can do? Internally, this is not really a problem for us. Interjurisdictionally, it is. So if you're doing commerce and trade in multiple jurisdictions, this is most certainly a concern. Technically, this is deflationary for us, really and truly. So if the silver price was going, as they call it, was going the other way, well, that would be different. It would be actually painful for us. I always give the general example, because a lot of times silver has hovered in the same range for years. So if silver was, say, 25 for an ounce and worth this piece of paper, they would need 4 ounces of silver to make 100 worth of piece of paper. So if you're buying something in a foreign jurisdiction that's about 100 worth of piece of paper, well, then 4 ounces of silver is what you would spend. If silver were to drop from 25 to, say, 20, well, now it's 5 ounces of silver to make 100 worth of piece of paper, if you would. So that's, again, inflationary. So the exact opposite is happening to us right now. Quote unquote, silver price is going through the roof. So I haven't done so yet with district governor for the Kenyatta district, and we haven't had particular conversation with Noble Dennis, who's in charge of Department for the Agriculture for the district. We're going to have avocados come off our trees soon. How much in silver, or is it going to be how much in gold, are we going to require for our avocados? Now, you talked to us even 5 months ago, we would have told you, all right, it's going to be X amount of silver for X amount of avocados. Now, we won't be able to set pricing on what we require in silver until the last minute, based on where things are now. So there's 2 rain seasons in the Kenyatta district. I expect that we're probably going to have the harvest probably in the summer, in between the seasons. If that holds true, we're anticipating, based on what's happening across the planet now, the quote-unquote silver price will cross 130, 140 range in the spring. Well, no later than the spring. If that holds true and conditions do not stabilize by then, either silver is going to hover or slightly rise, or could shoot to 160 for an ounce of silver. If that holds true, we now have an indication of what's going to look like to take our avocados to market. And we'll make that decision at the last minute, because we have to maintain some level of pricing that will be parity with those who also provide avocados. So this is not as easy as it looks to some. It's definitely not as simple as it sounds. It's supply and demand, yes, that's true. What the market will bear, that's also true. But there's also being reasonable, fair, and equitable, being honorable, not looking to gouge anyone. We gotta do things in a manner that is where everyone has quantum merit. We have some things to work on, and do rest assured that we are on it. We take this very seriously. The Minister for the Customs is responsible in this particular regard, because this is tied back to our commerce. We don't have price controls inside this jurisdiction and venue. If we did have price controls, they would be set by the Minister for the Customs. We don't have those type of things here. We're looking to find ways to work this out, to balance things out so everyone wins, including the Imperial Treasury, so that we can fund the fiscal budget law. That's as honest an answer I can actually give you, Noble Tina. You have any follow-on questions?
Yes, not regarding the avocados going to market, but back to the prices, if you will, in a medium of exchange. So there has been a discussion recently regarding the Imperial Council considering a change for the official medium of exchange. So have any of those been put into effect yet?
Islam. For the record, that did not start with the Imperial Council. Actually, 27 Earth years ago, in a couple of months now, our Constitution was ratified by the Imperial Council. They decided to agree with what I wrote. And what I wrote that became our Constitution, in Article 6, Section 1, Clause 1 of our Constitution, platinum, gold, and silver are the only medium of exchange within the jurisdiction of the Amexem-Moor-Empire. I knew then particular things were going to be happening in the future, and I said I had to leave some things open. So when you read our Constitution, it says platinum, gold, and silver. It speaks to the issue of the silver being 99.99%, not 999. That was on purpose. A slightly lesser grade of silver, however, it's a strong grade of silver just the same, because I knew that in certain times the silver quality is going to go down. You have to remember, all other silver deposits close to the surface are being largely tapped or tapped out, which means you have to go further into the soil to pull silver out. And as a rule, most of the time when you see silver being mined, it's being mined as a result of copper and zinc being mined. There's a few mines across the planet that are exclusively for silver. However, most of them are not. Silver is the easiest financially for folks to acquire. Platinum is the second easiest to acquire based on pricing internationally. And then, of course, gold is the most expensive one to acquire. I knew a day would come where silver's going to be 5,000 an ounce, as they say, in worthless paper, and gold's going to be 50,000 an ounce in worthless paper. I knew that because silver is consumable and gold is usually recycled, and silver is generally a single-use commodity that folks use as a medium of exchange, I knew that limitations based on industrial demand were going to impact silver more than it ever would gold. So I knew that eventually we may have to consider adding another long-term view, whereas meant to add another metal to be our medium of exchange. Because once silver got to a point where it just becomes massively demanded and not enough supply, then copper would have to be introduced as a medium of exchange in the Amexem-Moor-Empire. So I had, in an official session that we had, I did speak to the issue of I'm considering going before the Imperial Council to ask for a constitutional amendment, amending Article 6, Section 1, Clause 1 to include copper as a medium of exchange within the Amexem-Moor-Empire. To that end, the Imperial Council is in fact on notice. Likely to tackle this after we get fiscal budget settled for 301631. However, we may have to do that before because it might be that the copper could help to ease the concern over inflation or deflation, which is the biggest hurdle we're dealing with this fiscal budget proposal, which is causing the slowdown, if you would. Normally, we would have been into negotiations or about to start negotiations about now. However, we have been slow in this because the outbreak on silver and the corresponding rise of gold has made this, I won't use the word prohibitive, I'll say tenuous. And introducing an additional medium of exchange in the form of copper, we would be able to navigate around the concerns with silver and gold. So we have to tackle that beforehand. Does that answer your question, Tina? If you need following questions, I'm happy to answer if you have them. Islam.
It's in Islam. Yes, that concludes my question for this segment, and I also appreciate you taking the time to clarify my misunderstanding from earlier regarding the imperial government versus the council regarding the medium of exchange deliberations, Islam. So thank you once again, and if you have any last-minute ideas you want to share regarding this topic today, or any closing remarks for our segment, you are free to do so at this time. Islam.
I'm going to give it to you straight. I always give it to you straight. The demand for silver is not going to slow down at all. You have about 200 million ounces of silver that is traded via retail, regular folks that would buy it. The remaining 600 million plus ounces of silver that's mined per year. In other words, you have 850 million ounces of silver, more or less. Between 800 and 850 million ounces of silver is what's mined on an annual basis. 600 million to 650 of it is for industrial purposes now. All the server farms that have to be built, they require that silver. The EV batteries, which, again, you don't need batteries. This is all obsolete. You can literally undo all this mess with silver by stop making batteries for EVs. You don't need them anymore. The technology exists. So this is just parties choosing to use silver in a manner and lithium in a manner that is wholly unnecessary. Again, oil has been obsolete for quite some time now. Lithium by default now is obsolete because, again, the battery technology is not necessary. So the hoarding of silver, the having corporations outbidding each other, where one put up 40 over the spot price to secure 60 million ounces of silver, to be outbid by 100 over what they were offering. Somebody offered 140 so-called U.S. worth piece of paper and silver over the spot price for silver just to acquire that silver. So you're going to see cell phones go up because the silver content is going to be harder to acquire. You got companies that have negotiated with battery producers to have those batteries put into vessels, a new class of battery. You have a particular EV builder, I won't call out who they are. I'll just simply say that they are going to be introducing 3 new battery packs, which is why they outbid their competitor by over 100 so-called US what they were bidding. And this is just getting started. This is just these two. What happens when semiconductor parties get into the fight looking to get silver? What happens when the social media platform folks for their server farms get in on the action? What happens when server farm suppliers get in on this? What happens when those that contract for services for server farmers, what happens when they get on this? For whatever their product or model is that they're providing that is demanding silver. You have X amount of silver and X amount of volts, and it's draining out rapidly. Reserves that are held by particular entities, parts are forced because they're being liquidated. So supply that's in these vaults is dropping rapidly. So there's less to even bid on. And so every so-called February Roman calendar, you find yourself watching what the industry for silver is going to do for the year. That's why I said recently, I expect silver to hit the 120 mark in so-called February if it hasn't already, if it doesn't do so before then. If it does before then, it's going to be 130 range then. Either way, by the spring equinox event, you're looking at 140 an ounce minimum for silver based on the current trajectory of how they're fighting over what's available. And in closing again, you could literally shut all this down by simply saying we don't need the silver for the EVs because there's technology that circumvents the need for that now. And that same technology or similar technologies are out there that say we can get electrical power without having to have the solar panels. Because that's where the silver is going. Solar panels, semiconductors, and the batteries for EVs. And then other vessels that don't have electric motors, but they also have a fair amount of silver in because of the computers on board. And that's driving the demand for silver. And it's impacting us because platinum, gold, and silver are our mediums of exchange. And potentially, we'll be adding copper to that. So I'll leave my comments there. Hopefully this has been insightful and helpful to you.
Islam, insightful is definitely the word I would use. And thank you for the extra information because a lot of us, do not look into the know-how and things like that and all the things that go out there and behind the scenes anyway to produce all the things that we utilize on a daily basis. So very insightful. And once again, very grateful for this opportunity and for you taking the moment and opportunity to come onto the segment and also to give answers to all of my questions. So thank you. Pardon me. His Imperial Majesty, on behalf of the Morse Internet Televideo Network, myself, and our wonderful audience. So thank you once again. Islam. So for more information regarding the Amexem-Moor-Empire, Imperial Government, operations down to the local level, more information is available on the website that we influence, which is modernmoormonarchy.squarespace.com. That website again, modernmoormonarchy.squarespace.com. Please show us some love and a positive comment and a feedback. I say thank you. And you are also encouraged to share the link for this segment and all the previous ones with all who you associate with. And lastly, until next time, we, on behalf of the His Imperial Majesty, pardon me, and all the nationals, pardon myself, all across the planet within the Amexem-Moor-Empire, we say thank you, peace, and great health unto all of you and to all of us. and we say Islam. Islam.